Okay, so hello everyone. Great to see so many people here. I recognise a few faces, so it's brilliant that you're doing this work. So thank you. I'm here as the chair of Keswick Town Council. This is actually my last engagement. I hand over the chain tomorrow, so so I'll be crazy tomorrow. Current chair. Now the town council. It's very similar. Some of you, I appreciate, don't live in Keswick, sort of things, and you have parish councils that represent you, and we're pretty aligned. We do talk quite a lot. In fact, we're increasingly talking more and more and more. So I think that's an opportunity for us as well. So there's 12 of us. We're volunteer councillors. We don't get paid. We give a lot of time, a lot of expertise. Denise is here as well. She knows a lot about housing. That's why she's on after me. My background is in sort of lobbying, communications and stuff like that. So policy is my thing. We've also got staff. We look after the Keswick parks, and we do all the usual administrative stuff that parish councils do. But what do we really do? We represent the community. We are the voice, often the only voice, and the only small voice that gets a couple of minutes in meetings of the people that live here and work here. It's really important, I think, that role for us, and it's something we take very, very seriously. And how do we know what to say on behalf of the residents? We work very hard to find out what's going on and what people are thinking, and engaging with people. That's something we've put a lot of work into the last few years. We also gather evidence to help push for change. If I go to the National Park Strategy team and they say, we've got a bit of a problem with this, they'll say, where's your evidence? So we go and we get it. I'm going to talk about that later. Because without that, we can't secure resources and attention, because that's what gets policy change. That's what makes things better for the people that live in our communities. So before I start, rural depopulation, I think, is a really interesting title for this session. And I'm not sure that the problem we've got is the classic rural depopulation that you would see in policies. What we've got is actually Keswick and the lakes in general is an amazing place. People really, really, really want to live here, but there isn't anywhere for people to live. And so I think our problem is that the place is absolutely rammed, but fewer and fewer people actually are able to live here. And that creates all sorts of problems with infrastructure, support for our dominant industry, which is the tourist industry, because they can't get staff. We've got a lack of affordable housing. There's pretty much no long-term letting market in the lakes. I don't know if anyone's ever tried to rent a house recently, but it's nigh on impossible and too expensive. Falling school rolls, strained local services, because we've got fewer and fewer council taxpayers and more people using the services that we pay for, which I think is really important and deeply unfair. So the problem in the lakes isn't that we haven't got enough houses, it's that there aren't enough houses available for people to be homes for them to live in. So what's being done? We can build more houses, brilliant, that's great, but it doesn't work because the people that move into those local occupancy houses sell their houses and they become tourist accommodation. So that's not really working for us. Sorry, you know that, we talk about this all the time. I didn't like them. And the other thing that has been done is the local occupancy clauses. Works really very well, and I know that some people think they're really unpopular and don't like them, but if we didn't have the local occupancy clauses, I don't think we wouldn't have a population here. They're hugely important. So, any kind of lobbying to try and remove that kind of thing should be vigorously resisted by the local population. So the populations remain pretty steady where we live, down a bit. In Keswick, it's around the 5,000 mark. Radical change is needed, but there's lots of vested interests, right? So, and there's a lot of misunderstandings about. Everyone thinks that everyone that lives in Keswick is loaded. If you have a chat to someone at Cumberland Council, they go, "Oh, yeah, some people have, yeah, of course, but lots of people haven't. So, we can't make generalisations and misunderstandings that everybody that lives in a national park, lives in a chocolate box house." So, an example of a practical project. So. I like doing things, and so when we started to discover problems with holiday lets being a nuisance in the town because of noise, parking, rubbish, all of the usual kind of things, particularly very large ones, we started it as a way to sort of help individuals get relief from noise. I don't know if does anyone live next door to a noisy holiday let or had experience with that? you're very lucky because it's absolute hell, because you never know on a Friday who's going to turn up and who are going to be your neighbours for the rest of the weekend, and whether you're going to have to hang over the garden fence in your pyjamas and shout at a bunch of drunk people that want to be quiet. Not nice. It's a massive problem in Keswick. So what we did was we tried to sort it out. So we went to the agencies, we went to the owners, we said, did you know that there's this massive problem? We gave them a load of solutions to fix it. And in the main, they cooperated with us. We've probably got 2 or 3 massively problematic houses still, and we're just going to send them to them now. That's where we've got to. But, you know, we worked hard and we found a solution, and it was, and I think we were holding people to account for their businesses, because these are lucrative businesses, right? So that the people that live around them can actually live in peace and don't move. People move house because of this. So that was good, but there were a whole bunch of other things that happened as a result of this that we weren't anticipating. So first of all, encouraging people to speak up was really important, because everyone was just putting up with it. They thought, oh, we can't do anything about it. Complain, and actually things can change. And I think that's really important for our community. We collected evidence and we provided it to the authorities, which made it a legitimate issue of concern. So now when I go and talk to the National Park, to Cumberland, they're interested because they know it's a problem, because we defined it as a problem and provided evidence that it's a problem. And they want to try and help us fix it. So a good example of this was there was an application for a holiday let in back streets of Keswick, and it was refused by the National Park Planning Authority off the back of evidence that we gave that it would be detrimental to the local population. That was a huge win for us. Okay, it was only one. But now there's a bigger conversation about, do we change the planning category completely for these properties so that they can be regulated differently? So, you know, we kind of started off doing all we could do in the situation, but it's led to a whole bunch of other things that have happened. And we've highlighted the issue of over-tourism and its impact on locals, and we've brought to attention the kind of things that little parish councils and town councils can do that can bring attention to these things. That then got us involved in the Friends of the Lake District housing campaign. You hold the leaflet. I don't know, I think this was sent out to you. But Friends of the Lake District are a very, I think, very effective policy lobbying organisation. And they've just done this Fairer Housing, Stronger Communities report, which I recommend. And again, it points out no shortage of houses, just a shortage of homes. And they've come up with a number of significant policies that could be changed by central and local government. And we're pretty, well, as Keswick Town Council, we're fully aligned with those proposals. And they're things like changing the class in the planning system for holiday accommodation so that it can be licensed, regulated in the same way that HMOs are. That was the other unexpected thing we found in all of this, that actually HMOs are very stringently regulated and less than problem. Sorry? What HMO? Oh, house of multiple occupation. So the kind of things I lived in HMOs for years after I graduated, and you know, 7 of us lived in a big house together. Kitchen was horrid, but you know, that kind of thing. Young professionals, shared accommodation, a licensing system, appropriate taxation. Holiday lets, as I'm sure you've heard ad infinitum, don't pay council tax, and they don't. If their taxable value, if their rateable value is underneath a certain value, they don't pay business rates either. So in Keswick, I think there's 575 holiday lets, significant chunk of whom aren't contributing to roads, buses, bins, litter collection. You get the point. And then ultimately, if they're licensed, we know how many there are. Steps could be taken to either not really license, remove licenses, or not grant any more. So gradually, you could bring that down to a percentage where the local population is viable again. So the 25% is meant to be the point at which your population, anything over that, your population starts to be endangered. We're at about 40 in Keswick.
32, I think.
32? Okay, 32. 32 is still over 25. So it's a big problem. Like I say, 575 homes. So what's your role as residents? Okay, I've been asked to say what you can do as residents. Use your voice, because we really matter, and if we use it, they'll listen. Get active, get organised, gather the evidence, find out what's being done already and get behind it. Bring forward ideas, support policies, write to your MP, bother them, honestly, bother people. It really works, and it's quite tiring when we're doing all the bothering, so please join in. Join the town council, right, so I'm on my soapbox now. I hope that this has turned you into community activists. Please do get involved because you've now had a real taste of the kind of issues that we need to collectively work on. So yeah, join your local town council. Elections in 27. I'm second down because I'm getting quite tired. So that was it.